in 2022, but I think he's going to have to find a way to really make a stance for himself this year, or else he could be headed out. But Teoscar Hernandez is a guy that I am licking my chops for on the free agent market because he fits perfectly with Fenway Park. And they also were flirting with him last year. They just couldn't cough the dough. So if they cough up the dough this year, they get the prize in Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah, I think he's going to, and you talked about the other shooter being the Dodgers. I think the one wrinkle to it that is important is that the Dodgers, they're the only team, obviously, because they've had him last year. They wouldn't lose compensation draft pick if they end up re-signing him. So the Red Sox would have to. The Orioles are also considering him, I guess, as well, because they're expected to lose Anthony Santander.
Yep.
In free agency. I'm sure another guy we'll talk about maybe briefly, but it just makes sense. I mean, he's was a Dodger before, then he went to the Mariners. Things didn't work out. Dodgers bring him back. What might have been one of the better one-year contracts in recent memory.
Yes.
Obviously, won a World Series with them. Home run derby champion. The guy was phenomenal last year for the Dodgers. And it just makes sense to bring him back, reunite him in that outfield. Obviously, him and Mookie played really well together. I think the Dodgers end up bringing him back. And, for them, it's they made the big splash with Snell. Not getting Soto. I think their next logical move is bringing back Teoscar, who was such a huge part of what they did last season.
All right. Hey, to each his own. Pete Alonso, moving on. Where's the best fit?
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he stays with the Mets. We talked about it already. What's money to Stevie Pockets, Stevie Cohen? The Mets would be the best fit theoretically. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't mind the Yankees taking a swing at him, but no pun intended there. I do think the Mets would be a very logical fit. I mean, he's already kind of growing his, obviously he had some huge hits in the postseason last year for them. He's a big part of that. He's a homegrown guy. Their draft pick, they developed him. The home run derby championships, he's obviously set the rookie home run record. Guy's been, he's on his way to being one of the more memorable Mets in Mets history, and especially if they end up winning a championship. And that's obviously getting way ahead of ourselves here. But I think he looks at the Soto signing and he says, hey, these guys are serious. And I think there's still money left over because Steve Cohen doesn't care. He said he doesn't care. Cohen might have been willing to go to $1 billion. And with that difference, that's no problem. He can get Alonso. Yeah. He can get a couple other guys. Well, maybe Cohen even saved money. Maybe he was like, hey, I'm willing to go up to $850. What's the difference? Let's give it a Pete.
Yeah.
I think he ends up staying with the Mets. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 140 or something like that.
There's three teams that are on my mind.
That's
I don't think I don't think the Mets. I don't. There's three teams that are on my mind. It's Baltimore, it's the Chicago Cubs, and it's the San Francisco Giants. They have a need at first base. They also need a bat, within the lineup. I know Cody Bellinger is looking at being traded by Chicago, hence why they're probably going to be active on the market, once that happens, because I think Cody Bellinger will get traded and he might get traded to the Yankees. But I can absolutely see Pete Alonso fitting in Baltimore. I also like Chicago. If I was to weigh the options, I'd probably go Chicago. I feel like Pete Alonso is a Chicago guy. I think he would fit really nicely there at Wrigley Field. Nice ballpark. I think maybe 4 years, 120. That could potentially get it done. For the Chicago Cubs. So I do like Pete Alonso, fitting in with that team.
Yeah, and I think the other team that I've seen rumors of, which I would be terrified of, would be the Astros. The Astros potentially, they think they might lose Bregman. Obviously, he doesn't play the same position, but with the money that they might not have spent there, they can put towards that. Also, they're in an interesting place too with their lineup and trying to kind of revamp things. But
Yeah.
Giants is a pick I certainly like a lot. And the Cubs, I mean, he kind of just looked like when you said Cubs, that's like something you could close your eyes and you could see him, playing first at Wrigley with that uniform, and he just, with that beard, he does look like a Cub. He's got like that, the Chris Bryant thing going for him a little bit.
No, Kyle Schwarber.
His different position, Kyle Schwarber. Yeah, he's got that that look to him.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
I like that.
Why not Cubs?
Alex Bregman. I think the Red Sox are absolutely interested in him. Mass Live actually reported, I think it was Sean McAdam and Chris Cotillo last night. They reported that there was some division between Craig Breslow and Alex Cora with Sam Kennedy. So Sam Kennedy and Alex Cora wanted Alex Bregman, and it seems like Craig Breslow was not the biggest fan. I think the reason why is because Christian Campbell is waiting in the wings. So I think they don't want to stunt that development and that progression, towards the big leagues. So that's why I do think Alex Bregman, he could either get the pinstripes, he could go back to the Astros. There's a lot of different areas. Maybe the Mariners call, right? I actually think that Alex Bregman probably fit better with Seattle. As far as a need, they need a bat. They do need some help in the infield. And you saw it last year, they struggled immensely offensively, and they need protection, with Julio Rodriguez. You got to make Julio happy. And I think this is a good step in the right direction if you add Alex Bregman into that mix. Unless, Craig Breslow comes around it, I can see, Bregman headed towards Seattle.
He does look like a Red Sox too. And maybe I just say that because I hate the Astros and, the Red Sox are obviously another team that I hate, but he does seem like someone that would be in the Dustin Pedroia-esque mold for the Sox. Granted, he's a little guy. He said
they did go to Arizona State. They went to Arizona State.
Bregman was, I think, LSU. I think Bregman was LSU.
You may be right, but I had ASU on my mind. Continue talking.
State school. Either way.
Yeah.
State school. So Bregman, I could see. I just wonder if the Astros don't make any other moves. Are they just loyal to him? At one point, Bregman was probably thought to be one of the more desirable players in the sport. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 6 all time and postseason home runs, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially with his stature. And people don't really talk enough about how he's kind of improved a little bit defensively. But I'd be curious to see if the Astros end up if he does a hometown discount type thing. I don't know. I could see him being a Red Sox, Giants, another one and Mariners that are teams that I just, I think they're willing to see hey, what's kind of left after the big names, like Willy Adames, for example. He's going to be the sexier signing, I'm sure, just because he's younger and, looks like he's got a little bit more pop, more athletic. Probably a little bit more desirable than Bregman at this point, just because Bregman's, I think 31, 32 now. So depending on what shakes out there, I wouldn't be surprised if the Astros do bring him back. 5 years, run 125 maybe or 130.
Yeah,
I don't know. That would be
I can see that. And Bregman's favorite player growing up when he saw him at ASU. So Bregman did play for the LSU Tigers, as you mentioned. His favorite player growing up, according to Tyler Milliken of Section 10 Podcast, shout out to them, was Dustin Pedroia. So Alex Bregman, big fan of Dustin Pedroia. Red Sox connection, could be something there. Again, if the division, is there, Alex Cora, I think, should have a say because he did, manage under Alex Bregman. But going back to Houston real quick, if Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker are available in trade, and they're not going to do anything with Bregman, you could kind of see a little bit of a change of the guard, when it comes to the Astros and the AL West. So they got to be very, very cautious in doing so. And, hopefully that they find a way to, find a trade partner with some of those big pieces. So honestly, they get weaker because we all know that they, find a way to become a horse in the making within the playoffs, the MLB playoffs. So, but obviously the Yankees won last year. So, moving on, let's talk about. Let's see what's on your mind. Willie Adames signed with the Giants, as we know. Um, I don't know. What are you thinking? Ryan Presley, Gleyber Torres. Who are you looking at?
Glaber, yeah. I mean, Glaber's one where obviously, like, I'm a little bit, I'm very interested to see what plays out there. A guy who at one point in his career looked like he made his first couple years with the Yankees, ended up making, all-star games at like 22, 23 years old. Had some clutch hits in the regular season, and things have just really haven't, progressed very much at this point. Coming
Yeah.
off probably his worst offensive season of his career. I think he hit a little over 250 last year, right below 260. He's never, other than the one season, I think it was a 19, where he hit like 37 or 38 homers. He hasn't topped 25 in any other season. This seems like a good bargain for a team like the Mariners, who, are going to bargain, basement buy, and, they're going to see like kind of what's left. And I think Glaber probably gets like a small 1-2 year deal, maybe around like somewhere 15 to 17, 18 million a year, would be my guess.
Yeah.
I
I
think the
can see
Yankees
it.
kind of have a contingency plan.
Yeah, I can see Glaber going to the Angels. I think the Angels would be a nice fit. I think they need a little more offense, in their step. And if you look at it like with the Oakland A's, right, they went out and got Luis Severino. You kind of look at Gleyber Torres as another guy probably going to a small market team and trying to figure out his way back into the majors. He's only 29 years old, so he could be very, very helpful to Mike Trout out there in Los Angeles. And I think Taylor Ward they're looking to trade. So, I think that they have a lot of pieces, possibly moving. There's a lot of teams interested there. So we'll see what, Gleyber Torres is made of this offseason, where he heads, whether that's with the, like I said, the Angels. I heard the Nationals are interested too, as the reports I've been gathering. So there's a lot of, teams in the mix. Jack Flaherty is a name that is kind of been high on people's list, especially last offseason coming into this year. Trying to get his feet back into motion, and it looks like he did. Where do you think he fits? Is he another guy to go small market?
I think he's going to end up with the Braves. The Braves are going to have to fill in some holes. Flaherty had, it was a kind of an up and down year for him. Obviously, ends up winning a World Series, and he did pitch well for them in that spot. He did struggle at times earlier in the postseason, but World Series, big stage, you got it done.